There was a time when I felt socially awkward and insecure, when I was scared to be seen by others, and when I was constantly wondering what was wrong with me. And all I deeply craved was to be accepted. But today, I want to share how I went from hiding in the background to thriving as an introvert. And I truly wish I could send this video to my younger self. I grew up in the small village in the Czech Republic, and I always had only few friends, mostly from the same village, people who went with me to the same elementary school. So we kind of stuck together. But our paths were separated later when we all went to the different high school. It was very hard for me to find friends there, friends I could truly connect with. I felt like nobody understood me. I felt like I couldn't be myself with most of the people in my class. I was always the one sitting in the last row, never talking during class, and the idea of having a presentation in front of my classmates was a nightmare. I think what made it worse was the fact that my class had only 4 boys and 26 girls. So there was a lot of rumors going on and just this vibe of competition in the air. There was way too many strong personalities and girls who wanted to be center of attention all the time. I got also bullied during one of the classes and nobody stood up for me. Back then, I was heavily dependent on the approval of others for my own sense of self-worth. So I desperately wanted to be liked and accepted by my classmates. But since I wasn't, my confidence was at the lowest. I remember spending so much money on branded clothes, hoping to be accepted or admired that way, or giving compliments to others, somehow thinking it would earn me some points and I would become part of the group. Being teenager and confused and feeling like there was something wrong with me was just so isolating. I remember looking at my classmates from the very back row, seeing them having fun talking to each other, while I was an outsider, wanted to be included. Also, when I turned 17, I started seeing most of the girls from my school dating. They had their first boyfriends, and they were telling everybody about it. So I also started thinking about boys. But since I was not standing out and I was very shy, I felt really behind. It was extremely hard for me to start conversation with boys. And I noticed that they were more interested in the girls who were more confident. When I turned 19, I was in the last year of high school. I felt extremely pressured to find boyfriend. I truly wish back then I was more talkative and approachable, like the girls who had many friends and were popular at school. So I was born in the year 1989, and while I always knew that some people were introverts and some people were extroverts, I couldn't get any more information about it because I didn't have internet when I was growing up. So it wasn't until like my early 20s when I could finally discover that I wasn't alone and finally learn more about personality traits. And although I could finally identify myself as an introvert, which was definitely helpful and led to more acceptance, I still had very strong feeling that I was just somehow different and I couldn't put my finger on it. I just couldn't understand how come that I was able to truly connect with only few people and I didn't have much to talk about with my peers. When I finally left high school and I went to the university, things got a bit better because I started attracting people I felt I was more aligned with. I also started traveling, so I spent few summer breaks working in the United Kingdom and in the United States, And I also went for study exchange program to Lithuania. And traveling truly changed things for me, because when I was in the new country and I was surrounded by people who didn't know me and they didn't know my past, I felt very free, and I finally had the chance to rewrite my story and start over. Traveling forced me to get out of my comfort zone as an introvert and start talking to strangers. It also forced me to make my own decisions, and I was faced with challenges I never thought I could handle. The biggest breakthrough moment happened for me when I was like 25 years old, and I stumbled across a personality test, 16 personalities by Myers-Briggs, and I found out I was INFJ. I still remember that evening when I finished the test and I started learning more about my personality type. And I didn't go to sleep that night because I was so excited learning more about it. And also, I finally felt understood, and that was a feeling I never felt before. It was almost like finally somebody came to me and told me that there was nothing wrong with me all along, that I was just wired differently. I then joined some support groups on Facebook, and just the acknowledgement that I was not the only one seeing and experiencing world the way I always did, and that there were more people like me, was just so amazing. I think that Myers-Briggs test helped me to come in terms with myself a little bit more, and knowing more about myself, and just finding out that I wasn't weird and there was nothing wrong with me in the first place was a game changer. So when I was getting support from other INFJs who struggled with so many things like I always did, and when I started reading some books about it, I also discovered some videos on YouTube, people talking about what it is like to be INFJ. And also I started reading some articles online, led me to some really great path of acceptance. And today I am 35 years old, and I can finally tell that I am really happy with who I am, and I wouldn't want to change it. I think the combination of having opportunity to travel and self-discover myself that way, and having access to information that helped me to figure it out who I am and how I operate, got me where I am today. I am proud to be introvert, and I only see it as a strength, because I finally accepted that I am shy and I am quiet, and I guess lost in thoughts like all the time, and it's completely okay. I make fun of things like being very nervous before making a phone call, or just straight up avoiding people because I just don't want to make any small talk. I can now recognize that my internal world is very rich, and I feel good about isolating, and I stopped feeling bad about spending most of the time by myself and needing to recharge. I now only surround myself with people who make me feel good and who I have really deep and meaningful connections with. I once read that extroverts are very happy at the first part of their life, but introverted people are not so happy when they are very young, but then they get more fulfilled getting older. And I can absolutely relate to that, because that was my case as well. So I think as I'm getting older and hopefully wiser, I started valuing things like having just few and very deep friends over being popular. And I started losing the need to be liked by people who are not my people anyway. So I hope this message will find people and introverts who need to hear it. Like if somebody came up to me when I was in high school and told me that I would have so many life experiences, or I would have a YouTube channel now, I would not believe them, and I would probably laugh. And when I look at how far I have come since high school, like for somebody who was always hiding in the background to somebody who is thriving now and who is proud to be who I am, I see it as a proof. I see it as a proof that our past doesn't define our future. And if we learn more about ourselves and we get to know ourselves and accept ourselves, our life will get so much better.